Hey, do you teach yoga? Have you ever trained to lead yoga classes, to be a yoga therapist? Have you ever owned a yoga studio? Maybe even just wondered what it was like for the women and men up there in front of the room on their mats, leading you through endless Surya Namaskars, down dogs, and pranayamas galore? Well, these are their stories, and mine. I'm Rebecca Sebastian, a 20-year yoga teacher, 10-year yoga therapist, yoga studio owner, and co-founder of a yoga-focused nonprofit. I've done a lot in the yoga world over the last 20 years, pretty much everything except had a water cooler. You know, a place to share stories, talk about struggles, successes, and find other people who do the same thing that I do. Welcome to Working in Yoga, a podcast and substitute water cooler for yoga folks to connect and build community, to share our unique profession, our challenges, and our journeys with the world.
Hey friends, welcome to Working in Yoga. So this week's interview is with Brandie Hadfield, and the conversation came about from the intersection of my weird obsession with listening to cult podcasts and documentaries and writing the article, The Business of Belonging, for Inside Yoga Magazine, the issue 0. There is this intersection between real relationships and transactional relationships that I want to talk about more. Community is undoubtedly one of the most impactful and important things that we offer folks in the modern yoga world, but how healthy is it for us and for them? I've often talked on this podcast about the complicated ethics behind teaching people to be yoga teachers and then employing them, and the role of teacher and the role of employer and how they're different. And without guidance, it's difficult to make those distinctions in our brains. I also wanted to unpack how we need to diversify how we operate in the yoga space and move away from those typical MLM tactics that we always use. This includes our major chains like CorePower, who use high-pressure sales tactics and leverage the teacher-student relationship in order to fill their teacher trainings. So how do we depart from those MLM or commercial cult kinds of marketing and sales strategies? Well, I asked a commercial cult expert, Brandie Hadfield, to come on the podcast and talk all about it. I think y'all are going to love what she has to say. It's wildly interesting. So before we start, though, I am going to ask you to like, subscribe, or follow the podcast from wherever you're listening. That lets the bots in charge of showing the podcast suggestions to us mere mortals know to show it to other yoga folks like you. Okay, let's get into it, my friends. Here's my conversation with Brandie Hadfield. Hey friends, welcome to Working in Yoga. Okay, I am so excited already for this conversation. I was really thrilled that she said yes to come and have this conversation with me. Let me introduce you to my new friend, Brandie Hadfield. Brandie, will you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Sure. Great to meet you. So I'm Brandie Hadfield and I'm in Toronto, Canada, and I'm a student psychotherapist in supervision. I am in my last year, so that means that I'm writing my concentration. And my concentration is all about commercial cults and how the structures, and when we talk about commercial cults, we're talking about things like multi-level marketing or network marketing companies, which are known to be culty, how the structures mirror narcissistic abuse. And I'm studying the impact on neurodivergent communities specifically.
Whew. Oh my gosh. Honestly, I just would love to hear you read all of your thesis just because I feel like that's a really interesting topic, in part because a lot of it overlaps what we talk about in the yoga space.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of why I wanted to have you on the podcast today was for us to have this conversation about belonging, because commercial cults do something that I don't know who did it first. Probably Arbonne did it first. And then we all just took the idea from there. But we sell belonging as part of a business model in yoga. And it's the truth. B, it makes me uncomfortable because I know I participated in it. And C, I just want us to talk about how that looks in other spaces besides yoga spaces. And I know commercial cults do that too. So
Yes.
what are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like part of that was one of the more funner aspects of
It's
being
fun
in an
though.
MLM. And I was there for 10 years. And honestly, like nobody can come out of an MLM and say that it was like a fun time and they love doing what they do. If they say that, they're lying because it's a lot of
Mm.
repetitive, stressful, annoying work. But the community part was the one kind of fun piece because you're encouraged to host events. So one of the things I would do would be meal prep parties. And
Hmm,
so,
fun.
not something I would just, being somebody who is on the shyer side and socially awkward, having that accountability to do that made that happen. And then when I would do it, it'd be like, it's so great to have all these people together.
Yeah.
So, but then there's it's not all fun and games because then there's like, I just remember not being able to manage all the relationships that I was then building and feeling like I
Yeah.
can't give everybody what I promised and what I feel they deserve. And so it was like I had just this ever growing roster of humans to care for as
Yeah.
part of this community building. And that was tough. And then you realize this how deeply transactional it actually is.
Yeah.
Because where's
Okay.
your attention going, right? To the,
Right. Okay.
yeah.
Because I feel like what you just illustrated is the it's complicated part of my brain because I also would enjoy hosting a meal prep party. I like people, I like connecting with people and being forced to do that while also being awkward and introverted myself. Like
Hmm.
I could totally see where that would be fun and you would build connections with other people.
Hmm.
Okay, how do we reconcile that with the fact that it is transactional? Like, you know,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
I'm sure you felt like you made friends too.
Yeah. And and then oh my gosh. And then the other piece of it, yeah, you're building these connections, but then like as a student psychotherapist and going through all that process, it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, but you can't like these dual relationships where someone's like your neighbor and now also your downline or your customer and how mucky that all gets. Um, I think if they're going to a yoga class, it's, you're still going to be grappling with, I guess, the dual relationships, right?
Yes.
So if there's no boundaries, then that's where we get into a mess. And commercial cults specifically are created with no like boundaryless, encouraged
Yeah.
enmeshment because that's how it keeps everybody stuck.
Yeah. But yoga
Hmm.
studios, okay, so especially in a teacher training program. So I will describe to you what that looks like in our spaces. Teacher
Hmm.
training programs tend to churn out yoga teachers, and a lot of studios run training programs where you've learned a life-changing thing through learning yoga at that studio from this person who then becomes your boss. So at
Hmm.
one moment, they were your spiritual teacher, and
Hmm.
then they're your boss. And so now, as your boss, it's difficult to advocate for your labor rights with the
Right.
same person who taught you that you were fundamentally a beautiful human being. Like,
Right.
it's the same thing, right? Like, it's a dual
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us the problems with that because I'm sitting here trying to convince people we need to have boundaries around this in this industry from a
Hmm.
therapeutic standpoint. Tell us how messed up this is,
Yeah.
Brandy.
Well, I mean, the thing that with commercial cults, because it becomes, and I guess it could be, a commercial, any group of people can be culty. So it's
Yes.
important to know like what the litmus test is for that. Like, can people question the rules? Is there, a person who's at the top who's like, the guru who can never be questioned? Are people telling on each other? Are people on the outside considered them, us versus them kind of mentality, really insular vibes? And is the whole thing becoming a huge part of your identity, which is another thing that commercial cults do, is they make it
Yeah.
that's your whole personality becomes the company and the brand. So then you've got this uh not only a boundary issue between you and the other people, but a boundary issue between your own identity and the company's identity. So
Yeah.
then somebody, let's say your sister, for example, because this was the case with me, you recruit her in, and she's my sister, but now also in my downline, and I'm coaching her to help her meet her
Yeah.
financial goal so that she can stay home with her daughter and not have to go back to work. So that was a very perfect example of how the dual relationships and the boundaries are a big, big problem because she didn't feel comfortable because I was so all in and I was so excited and I had such big dreams for her and this vision for her that when things weren't adding up, she didn't want to offend me and she didn't want to risk our relationship because it meant a lot to her.
Of course.
So then she did what we all do and she's just started ghosting me a little bit.
It's true. It's totally what happens.
Because who has the skills to have that kind of a conversation? That is so hard. It's just, I do not blame her at all. At the time I did. I was like,
Yeah.
what's going on? I've put so much into you.
Yeah.
Um, and then she said, okay, I got to be honest. I don't believe in all this is what it's been hyped up to be. And I think I just want to go back to work and, great for you. It's awesome for you. And, I've loved meeting people, but I'm out. And then I was like, what? Like, why didn't you tell me
Yeah.
this sooner? It felt like a personal affront. We got in a big fight. We didn't talk for a while.
Yeah.
And that's super messed up. That should not be happening.
Like, okay, so I know that there's people listening in the yoga space that just got deeply uncomfortable because you could have literally described the same relationship that people go through when they're a student in a yoga studio, which is one type of relationship. And then they're a trainee in the yoga studio, which is a whole other type of relationship. And then they're an employee at the yoga studio. And it is messed up. It is
Mhm.
very difficult to hold those boundaries. Are there ways to do it better? Like, do we just burn it all down and walk away and go get jobs? Like,
Yeah.
how do we
Well,
do it?
I think that there has to be specific rules. I mean, burn down MLMs, yes. Uh, but in terms of like before the MLM world, I worked in the fitness world. So
Similar, yeah.
similar, yeah. I was in the human resources department. So there was the group fitness instructors, there was the personal trainers, there was the membership salespeople, there was all these different roles. And then we had my department, which was called the people department because we took care of the people.
Yeah.
And but still like it absolutely got culty because we've got like Tony Robbins-esque like rah training seminars
Yeah.
and the law of attraction and all of that. So I mean, uh, I think part of it is the idea. I mean, this isn't about boundaries, but just like overall ideology, we have to be sensitive about the harm that that can cause, the ableism that's involved with that.
Yeah.
Um, Telling people, you are the master of your destiny is, I believe, inherently harmful. So you've got that piece. And then you've got you need to have clearly defined roles and boundaries and responsibilities, because if we're really caring about people that we're working with, then we are mindful of our impact on others and power, and how our inherent power stepping into a dynamic plays into things. So somebody may not feel comfortable voicing a concern if they feel like there could be any sort of a retaliation. So those kind of checks and balances have to be put in place where people do feel comfortable. Um, and I see that in play with my school, for example. And I'm like, wow, this is so cool to be in a setting where a student can say, I disagree with how the school is handling this.
Yeah.
And the faculty calmly stays regulated and listens to that concern. And if they feel there's a disruption, that is addressed, but it's addressed without any sort of retaliatory or shame or any of that. So it can happen. It does happen. It does exist. And then I believe that when people feel safe to be autonomous individuals, and when power is recognized, like for example, I'm not going to be great at coming up with a yoga role example, but I'll say with a client therapist example,
Yeah.
I bring it into the room. Like, I recognize that I am seen in this sort of way, but I want you to know that I report to you actually.
Yeah.
So if this is going in a place where you're not comfortable, please let me know. And I bring that in whenever it feels like it needs to be stated, because people will be like, well, I don't want to ruffle feathers, or I don't want to make waves, or she's the expert, so I'm just going to trust the process. And that's not the
Yep.
case. That you are the expert on yourself and your experience. And unfortunately, I just think we've been uh, groomed culturally to push down our own intuition. So I don't know. That was a big answer.
That was first of all, that was a great example because even a lot of people don't know this within the yoga professional space, there's a
Mhm.
subset of people who are yoga therapists. So people who see folks one on one using the discipline of yoga to help people
Mhm.
achieve whatever outcome that is. That was my job for about 15 years. So
Okay.
we're doing the same kind of thing. Assuming we're
Yeah.
behaving properly, we are trained to do the same thing, to bring power onto the table and say, hey, this is you're in the driver's seat. I'm here to help and respond to
Hmm.
you. So I
Hmm.
think that was an excellent, very relevant yoga example. And the whole
Hmm.
time you were talking, my head was like, why is this so? It's always wellness. Like,
Hmm.
why is it so wellness focused? Is it because we have an overwhelming majority of women workers? Like, it's the thing I see across the board in wellness
Hmm.
spaces, fitness spaces, MLM culture. Like, it's a lot of
Hmm.
women. What
Hmm.
the hell's with that, Brandie?
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if it has to do, I have a case study in my concentration with a woman who interestingly came out of a narcissistic family dynamic with the father at the helm, and then seeking something different, ended up in an MLM that was like alpha male dominated. So, like, not the typical ones that we see,
Yeah,
thinking she was breaking out of it, but actually just finding the same pattern in something that looked different, which that's what I'm seeing again and again, is that we're just seeking these similar dynamics, even though we think we're doing something different and new and breaking the mold. There's familiar undertones. So, in terms of like, why are there so many women? Are we on this constant pursuit of betterment, striving? Is that like a cultural thing? Is it because we want to take care and help? And how it's like the nature versus nurture. I don't know where the line is
yeah.
there.
I mean, I'm going to try not to take that example that you said personally, but my joke in the yoga space is that we all just came from trauma. Like nobody walked into a yoga room and was like,
Oh
wow,
yeah.
my body feels great. I've had a great childhood.
Yeah. Oh
I'm
yeah.
eating right. I sleep 8 hours. I should find yoga. Like that's never happened. Like it's
100%.
always, it's always
Yes.
like something feels like it's falling apart. I've now I need to seek something that's going to help me do that. So it is,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that piece is a part of it, that sort of we're replaying our traumatic patterns. Because, you know, there has been jokes of like certain people with certain kinds of trauma find different sorts of yoga practices, in fact.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating.
Yeah, like you'll find the people who have to have their arms in the proper place and your fingers in the right place, they go to a certain, they had perfection oriented parents who then they go to that particular yoga
Oh.
style and repeat that pattern. Athletic folks who are like the star person in high school on whatever team, they go to a different kind of yoga. People have drug
Mm-hmm.
problems, go to a particular kind of yoga. It's
Hmm.
very, it's almost uncanny how we're all repeating those patterns over and over again. I'm
Hmm.
fascinated that that also happens in other spaces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now I'm like, do you want to analyze the kind of yoga I do? See if we can.
You can tell me after.
Okay.
Just hold up a little sign.
Oh, it's so interesting though.
But it's
Yeah.
and it's funny because the first time somebody said that to me, it was somebody who was very familiar with the full scope of the entire industry. And they were like, oh, yeah, we're all just repeating our trauma patterns. We really should rebrand this to be trauma. Like the yoga in its modern iteration is just people dealing with trauma. And we've just figured out how to
Hmm.
do that really well. And I went, huh, okay, I won't take that personally, but that was definitely me.
Well, I mean, it would be the same thing too with psychotherapists. Nobody goes, I think anybody who like
Yeah.
goes into the profession of psychotherapy with no trauma is not going to be awesome because they haven't, you need to live 100 lives so that you can really
Yeah.
connect with people and be like, yeah, man, like I feel ya.
Okay, in MLM spaces, are the people who last also those people?
The people who last, are they also traumatized people? Is that what
People
you
who
mean?
are like,
Oh,
who have a high threshold for challenging
oh.
behavior.
Okay. Well, it depends. I mean, there's the people that last a long time staying at the very bottom, and then there's the people that are able to claw their way to the top. The people that are able to
Okay.
claw their way to the top, slash the ones who start the MLMs are usually,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, on the sociopathic, like malignant personality disorder end of things. And then something that I studied when I'm looking at neurodivergence, this is really interesting, is that I don't know, it hasn't been studied enough, so I don't know
Yeah.
what percentage or how much, but there is a prevalence of neurodivergent people who stick and stay in a long time and may even come to like get up to leadership positions because they can. Let's just take an autistic individual, for example. They may um, be able to rigidly emulate the leader's style. Um,
Yeah. Of
they
course.
like the um, I mean, and I can say this for myself, the structure, and this is exactly what you do. I was like, okay, like you just tell me what to do and I will do it 100%. I can memorize and recite a script. I can be your girl Friday. I can do it.
Yeah.
But I'm coming at it from this like over functioning angle, and
Yeah.
there's only um so many times I can see the rubble where I'm like, what is happening? This isn't like the incongruence is getting too big, whereas another person is going to be able to just wear the blinders and truly believe, so entitled, that anybody who fails, it's their own lacking, and that they absolutely deserve every single ounce of what they have off the backs of other people. somebody who is more empathetic is going to realize that at a point there's only so much they can take, even if it's a decade like it took me, before they're like, no, like this isn't this isn't adding up. And I believed for so long and change is so hard, but it just gets to be where you can't go on anymore and you just burn right out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can last a mighty long time. But if you're going to last forever and start one, you have to be able to, yeah, just have such a level of entitlement that it doesn't cause you any sleepless nights to just extract and extract and extract and repeat it over and over and over again. I don't know if that answers your question.
I mean, it does, and it's very fascinating because there also is, I believe, a higher level of neurodivergence in the yoga population as well, and especially in particular styles of yoga.
Mhm.
Um, so that's like an interesting layer to add to the equation. And especially,
Mhm.
I'm curious in this idea of how we leverage our relationships with each other.
Mhm.
Um, what's the cost of that? And you can address it from like the MLM standpoint, and we can like translate that into how yoga experiences it. But like, what does it cost you interpersonal relationships? You said that there was like a moment of, or like a while where you and your sister didn't speak or were in low communication.
Yeah.
Is that common? Is that a common thing that happens in MLMs or commercial cults?
I think it is common that your new family, your chosen family becomes the commercial cult group. And then
Yep.
that becomes another aspect that keeps you stuck in, which is why they like it to be boundaryless as it is, because when you put all of your eggs in one basket and you've invested so many years and you've created all these weird memories going in these different destinations with these people who all talk the same way and believe the same things and are into the same conspiracies and the same
Yeah.
religion and blah blah blah, then it's a lot harder to leave because you've got this major social cost. So that's why I see people who just stay and stay and stay, even though they're not making any money. They're spending hundreds of dollars a month just to be part of this community, because one of the things they also encourage is like everybody is a prospect. So that means your family are your prospects. So that means you're talking
Yeah.
to your upline about your aunt and about her health troubles and about her, the conversation that you had and how she said no to you. And then you have your upline saying she doesn't know what she doesn't know. And again, there's this divide now where you can't really look at your family the same way because they don't believe in what you're doing.
Yep.
So to be able to leave all that chosen family, face the people that you alienated, like a lot of people just they may not be like even that in and of itself could be uh they have you can't make anybody do that, if that makes sense. Like I had that realization where I wanted to tell everybody and get everybody out, but it's like, do they like they didn't consent to me exploding their reality. So how do I do this ethically?
Yeah. I mean, so you could have also described all of those interactions or things that happen in the yoga space. I mean, yoga, especially people who are new to yoga, new teachers almost become evangelical in their like proselytization of how amazing yoga is and yoga changed my life. And oh my God, you need to meet so and so, and they're my teacher. And then you need to come. And I know you said you had heart problems and trouble sleeping. Well, you should come to a yoga class and that will just fix you. And it's so like, I hear a lot of the same language about how we're sort of, I mean, getting people on board in the yoga space is so similar to
Mhm.
how the
Yeah.
MLM space works. Does there necessarily, because I don't think, and I have known many people who are in the MLM space too, because it's not
Yes.
quite a circle between yoga and
Yeah.
MLMs, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of overlap. Like, I don't think there has to be malicious intent behind it for it still. I think that's worth saying that as we do
Yeah.
this, you weren't trying to hurt your sister or your aunt
Yeah,
or your cousin or
exactly.
whoever.
Yeah.
How do you reckon with that?
Yeah. So because they're in the MLM that I was part of, it's called Juice Plus. It's still called Juice Plus. Um, they did a lot of there was in all of them there's a lot of events, and these events I
Mm.
see in retrospect are indoctrination because they're just making you
Yeah.
believe that the products and the community are the answer to everybody's problems.
Yeah.
So, and that's another, vulnerability with neurodivergence as well is, if people that
Yes.
have a position of power are telling you, I'm going to believe the famous doctor who wrote all the parenting books that I loved when he says that it will prevent slash
Yeah.
cure cancer or alludes to it in such a way that
Yeah.
that's what he's saying. So then like well-meaning, trying, you just want everybody that you love to live as long as possible. And you, you, you know, when they don't necessarily agree or are skeptical of that, um, it's discouraging. Like I said, it can kind of drive a wedge between you and people that you love. You might then, like what I did, spend my own money on buying it for people that I love,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
which then keeps you in longer because you've got this sunk cost fallacy. And also, if you're truly believing that this product is the best thing, then or that I guess in this case that yoga is the very best thing for everybody and everybody should be doing. I mean, I do love yoga, so it's hard for me
Yeah.
to draw that same parallel. Like I don't take Juice Plus anymore and I'm great, but if I don't do yoga for too long, I do get really
Yeah.
stiff and
I think it's complicated
yeah,
because we have as the value of yoga, we can almost talk about separately. Like, I
right.
believe, there's enough like scientific research behind the value of yoga that we can say without question that a yoga practice can hold benefit for people. We don't have
Yeah.
to argue that. But like how the hell people got there, I think is something that we can like we don't need to mimic MLM culture to do that anymore. And what I'm really
Yeah.
appreciating about this conversation is that you're pointing out there's nuance to how we talk to people to
Hmm.
get people in the room. If somebody's coming in to be a yoga teacher trainer, say when we're training people, making sure that you are not the only answer to every question.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also like the fringe things that go along with it. Like I was saying in the reel I did about conspiracy
Yeah.
theories. Like if you have this whole like ideology around, we all drink raw milk here in this yoga community,
Yeah,
and
totally.
we all do that, and we all use the Young Living essential oils, and the more things like that you add in can that's by design. Like
Yeah.
we're Yanya Lalich, who's an amazing cult
She is
expert.
amazing. Yeah.
She talks about like a lot of the culty behaviors are like basic social psychology. Like it's like how people can tend to end up in groups. Like we have to really be aware and work against some of these things. That's not what she said verbatim, but that's kind of what I got out of it. So, like you're unconsciously maybe weaving in all of these other extra things when it should just be about yoga and like
Yeah.
let's separate the essential oils and the whatever milk you want to drink. Like it doesn't have anything to do with whether or not you're a valued member of this community.
Yeah.
And we're what makes our community amazing is the variance in it and the
Yeah.
diversity, and let's celebrate that. And I don't know.
Okay. Can I ask, how did you get your brain back from thinking of people as an asset versus a
Oh my
human?
gosh.
How does
Yeah.
that happen?
Yeah. That was one of the best things about coming out was because I had been so trained, it was so ingrained in me for so many years that every person I met, because they would say, just do life and bring Juice Plus with you. So every moment was some of the bandwidth was taken up by what's this person's pain point? What event could I invite them to that would best serve them
Yeah.
on my
Yeah.
mission? So like after I left, I joined a running group and I was like, this is so cool. I don't have to talk about it. Like, it was just like, yay,
Yeah.
I'm free. So, I mean, it wasn't hard. It was like, I was like, I can't even believe that I've gone this long interacting with people or not and just feeling guilty because that would be another thing that would happen. Oh, I'm being in an Uber and you're at conference and then one of the people's like pitching the Uber driver or whatever. Or the big shots at the top are
Oh,
saying you should be approaching the hotel staff and do you ever think about passive income or whatever? So you're interacting with people and you're like, I know I should be doing this, but I'm too afraid, I'm not whatever. So just like wiping all of that and just being able to m meet people without any, it was like the most freeing experience. And yeah.
I am imagining the hotel staff at those conferences just being like, God, these juice people again.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well,
Like they're probably
probably
behind
any
the scenes,
MLM
like
conference. Yeah. Any MLM conference, they're like, get ready, guys. I'm sure there's a lot of
fake emails exchanged. Like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That, I, because I do think there has to be so much of it. Like you said, it's basic psychology is sort of how you get people ingratiated in sort of those places. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it is a mindset shift to not see people as an asset. In the yoga space, we often see each other because it's difficult to make money quite a bit. Like an MLM, it's difficult to make a sustainable living in the industry. And
Hmm.
so it's just you're one connection away from that thing that will maybe get you the job, that will get you the rescue, that will mean that you actually could go on vacation this year. It's
Hmm.
again, the whole thing is very similar to how MLMs run. And
Hmm.
I think there has to be a mindset shift because I also think that systemically it benefits the people at the top of the system for us
Right.
that we're all looking at each other as potential leads and not a way to collectively organize.
Hmm. Yeah. Hmm.
Do you feel like I mean, it has to be true for MLMs too. Like, of course, like, it is to the benefit of the people
Oh,
at the top that the people below them want to eat each other for breakfast.
yeah. And oh my gosh. And that would be another like thing that commonly happens in MLMs is that you're fighting over the same like prospect. Oh,
Yeah.
I talked to them first. Oh, but I was the one that invited them to this event and they said they wanted to sign up under me or whatever. It gets really yucky.
Did that happen? Is that like a
Oh
thing?
yeah. Oh yeah, that has definitely happened. I think that happens to everyone in MLM where
So when
you're
you
like fighting.
leave,
There's not a lot, there's no actual demand for these like very few people are
right?
like, I need to get my hands on some Arbonne. Like, no, nobody's saying that.
I do love juice. I don't know what your MLM sold, but I do love juice. I was
Oh,
totally
it's
like,
not juice. It's just called it's capsules of fruit
oh,
and
it's not real
vegetable
juice.
powder. No, I know my dad, he had thought the same thing. He's like, "Where's my juice?" No, they're pills. Um, yeah, no, they're pills. They're capsules.
Oh, so the opposite of the liquid that the name implies.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was a protein powder as well. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, there
Like,
isn't nobody's looking for it.
no. My question
So,
is, when you leave, did you keep any of your friends? Like, is it
oh
just,
yeah, that's a really good question.
how did that
Well,
work?
um, I was just sorry. I don't even feel like I finished answering the last question there.
Yeah.
What was remind me what the question was? Because I said there's no demand for the product, but I can't remember why I got on that.
We'll just forward to tell me if
Okay.
you kept your just forward to
Okay, okay.
if you tell me
Okay.
that you kept your friends, because
Okay.
I'm also really curious about that shift, like again, and that goes back a little bit to the mindset shift of seeing people as people again and not just assets or potential
Yeah.
sales.
Yeah.
Like,
So when I first left, it took me um a long time, like well over a year of like what the F was I
yeah,
part of, and how do I like be in the world now? That took a long time. It was a long process. And then once I was sure this was really bad, I don't want anything to do with it. I've now read so many books, listened to so many podcasts. I have something to say.
yeah,
I have to write what I've done. I have to correct this and let people know that this was not my intention and this is the problems. And, some people were not too happy with that. Like I said, I had to be very careful because nobody consented to me exploding their world. And I didn't want
yeah,
to get sued for being, trying to be a disruption and affect their business practice or whatever.
right,
So I thought long and hard about it. I'm entitled to my own story, my own experience. Um, so what I did was I started the Substack and I wrote an open letter to my team. I figured if people are like, "What is going on with her?" They'll know how to Google it and find it pretty easily.
yeah,
And then the doors open. So I sent a very like the doors always open. I'm not going to be working with the company anymore. I've really appreciated that you trusted me. The door is always open. If you ever want to talk, I'd be happy to, but I didn't. And then I left it on the public internet. This is my open letter to you, kind of thing. And
yeah,
some people just, another big thing with cults is if you speak out against it, you are excommunicated. Like
yeah.
that is it. So there was some of that blocking. There was some like, I don't like how you're impacting me because you're implying that I am love bombing and I'm doing it, doing this in good faith. I don't want people that blah, blah, blah. So there was some of that. And then there were other people that were like, oh my gosh, thank goodness, because I was going to stay as long as you were going to
Of
stay.
course.
And I was thinking this for a long time too, so thank you. And then there was like then there was complicated situations. Like there was one individual who was in my downline who blocked me for 2 years, and then she unblocked me and then said, "I'm ready now. I'm ready to see what that was." And now we're friends.
Oh,
But I never stopped caring about her. I was always like, oh, I hope she's doing all right. I hope she's doing okay. I wonder when she's gonna leave, because you do get close to these people. It is really
yeah,
hard.
of course. I mean, you
Mhm.
couldn't. I would think any normal feeling person, any person with empathy of any kind would, because you were managing all those people and checking in on them before,
Mhm.
it would be very reasonable for you to care about them after as well.
Mhm.
Of course you would, like any
Mhm.
empathetic person would.
Mhm.
So do you feel, I mean, is it like nail biting a little bit when you worry about somebody who might still be in that system?
Yeah, it is. It's like, oh my gosh, like how long, how many years did they? Because I can't think of anybody that I care about that's actually like winning the game. They're all just
Right.
paying into it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I just wish you could know that you don't. I just wish that the veil could be lifted so they weren't spending all that money on what, in my opinion, is BS. Uh,
My
and
brain
like
just went, and it's not even juice.
use the money for your savings. Like
Yeah.
just save it. Just do. um, so yeah, it is nail biting. And then there's other people that they just quietly slink away. And they
Yeah.
don't feel any need to say anything. I don't know if you follow Matthew Remski.
Okay, I
Uh,
know the name. Yeah.
okay.
Does he
He's,
has a podcast, right? And he
yes,
he was definitely in the yoga world maybe 10
yes.
years ago, so I know the name from that.
Yeah, he had a brilliant analogy recently where, because I heard this a lot, like, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. And he says, if you say that, you're probably the baby. And then I feel like that's what happens sometimes. It's
Yeah,
like,
fair.
well, I don't really want to, you know, I don't want to like deal with the repercussions of admitting that I led people astray. So,
Yeah.
and then there's other people that like they're just so ashamed, and that's a whole other, huge empathy for that when
Yeah.
someone's in that kind of they just don't know how to do it. And I have a support group as well that I should mention, a free peer
Yeah.
support group. And, that's something that could come up in that space is like, how do I have those conversations? Um, but yeah, it's the people who are like, I got mine kind of, or I still benefit from, I'm just gonna like pop into this
Awesome.
other culty group and
Yeah.
keep doing the same thing. And I don't want to look too hard at it because I don't want to be accountable. That's like, well, you may be the baby
Okay.
bathwater and you're trying to just save yourself.
Okay, so I have this weird theory because I think like all of us, I'm a little obsessed with like cult documentaries. So I've seen them all. Like
Uh-huh.
all the wild cult docs, all the MLM documentaries that are like cult docs. And for whatever reason, the people who have like the I got out a little bit sooner before everything exploded moment, they all end up as yoga teachers.
Oh, really?
It's like bizarre. I was watching a Heaven's Gate documentary, and Heaven's Gate,
Okay.
I mean, in my head, I'm like, this is a cult from the 90s, right? So long ago,
Mm.
surely like the joke always was, is somebody going to be doing yoga in the cult documentary? And the truth is, almost always. And then at the end of
Wow.
that documentary, they show one of the women who got out before they all put their sneakers on and
Oh,
laid down, and she was
yeah.
doing yoga. And I was like, what about us is so similar to that dynamic, that sort of like high control dynamic that all of these groups kind of have in common? And
Uh-huh.
I'm fascinated with how we end up there. I can only think of one cult documentary where yoga was not explicitly talked about.
Uh-huh. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There was definitely one of my team retreats. I have a picture of us all doing yoga.
Of course.
Sunrise yoga.
Of course. Of course. I mean,
Mm.
it's just very like I find that part of it very interesting. There's like that seeker sort of personality that I think a
Yes.
lot of people come into, MLMs and also yoga spaces
Right.
looking for something. Do you see the same thing?
Absolutely. And just anecdotally, it's interesting coming from my fitness days because I do
Yeah.
remember there was a specific personality that the yoga instructors had
Totally.
versus versus the other
Totally.
group fitness instructors. The yoga instructors were always much more um I'm going to say anal about like the temperature of the studio and the cleanliness of the studio and
Yes.
like they would be the most upset or about things not being a particular way. So I wonder if part of that, I mean, I think that I'm attracted to rigidity as well because it's like, one plus one equals two. Like I like that. If I do this, if I just follow what you were doing, then I will have this very tangible result
Yes.
and this structure to my life. And if you are a person who is more um, anxiety, prone, then you would come to really rely on that necessary, like taking time to breathe and move through the postures and so on.
Yeah.
just like I'm addicted to running as well, because my best friend says I'm like a dog that needs to go for their run or else I go crazy. So why is that? It's a propensity for anxiety
Yeah.
over producing, and I need to have, those scheduled activity breaks where I'm going to be able to, I'm not going to sit here and meditate because I'm too go, go, go. So,
Yeah.
but if I'm doing yoga or if I'm going for a run, then I feel like I'm tricking myself into being productive while also having these mindfulness benefits as well.
Yeah. And then you become a fan and get your family to come with you
Yeah.
to class. I mean,
Yeah.
it is interesting how the whole process can be incredibly innocuous. Like, of course, you would have like your best friend come with you to a yoga class. Of course, you would share, whatever it was, your essential oil with your friend if that was what you wanted. So yeah, that's an interesting like. Okay, this is gonna be my final question to you. Like,
Okay.
what shifts it from something that has malicious intent versus something that is fairly innocent and sweet and sharing something nice with somebody you love?
Hmm. I think that if you stand to benefit in addition to, just sharing something with goodwill. So if you're sharing it because that if they're a raving fan, then they will be more likely to pump money into something that you'll get a piece of, then that's where the dual relationships come in. And that's where there is a problem because, in an MLM, if you have this carrot dangled in front of you,
Yeah,
that you're going to get this bonus and this promotion if you have this structure, this amount of people at this position, then you're going to be like playing chess with these humans to try to line
yeah,
them all up in a way that you benefit from. So that is going to inform your interactions with these people, and it cannot be innocuous at that point.
yeah. Okay. Brittany,
Mhm.
will you tell everybody where to find your Substack so they can come be a big, huge fan of yours?
Sure. So my Substack is, I'm just gonna pull it up because I can't remember the way that it goes. If it's
I do that
Substack
too.
first
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
it's substack.com/at Brandie Hadfield. So it's BrandieHadfield.
And we will link that in the show notes too. Thank you so much for this conversation. I really appreciate it. It was very good.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for this conversation, Brandie. I know I'm going to be taking a deep dive into figuring out ways that we can acknowledge power dynamic differences in our spaces and unpacking all of those different dual relationships that we're often engaging in without realizing it. We should train in this, y'all. Maybe I'll build one for us. Okay, next week is a two-part episode with Jenna Schanst about how she and her colleagues work as yoga therapists in a formal medical setting. I'm obsessed with the work that they are doing, and I cannot wait for you to listen. Until then, let's go get to work, my friends, and I will catch you around the water cooler next time.